Morning guys, another day's upon us, getting closer and closer to my birthday. Just a quick one really. I'm going to be doing probably a small knife review soon on a knife I've just got on trade off one of the trade groups on Facebook. So this knife's again, it comes in the budget range of knives, so it's around about the 30 £40 mark, and as you know, I love budget knives. I love testing budget knife, because after all, this is what this channel is about, finding alternative, rather than spending when you're first coming out bushcrafting and things and camping. Is where do you turn to, how much money do you need for a knife? And I'd say, you know, you can get a perfectly good knife for under £50, okay, and a good quality knife as well, for under £50. So 20, 30, 40, if your budget stretches that far, £50 maybe, you can get a perfectly good bushcraft for under £50. Okay, now some of the knives that I've reviewed on my channel, some of them do fall into that area, and I will be doing some reviews, some more reviews on budget knives and things. But I've just been trying this out all morning. From first glance, you'll probably know, if you're a knife guy, knife nut like me, what it is. And this is a Glock field knife 78. Okay, so they do two versions. They do the 78, which is what this is, and the 81, I think, which is got the sawback or the serrated edge on top. But because I don't like serrated blades, I've been looking for one of these for ages. I used to have a Glock 78 many years ago, but this is one of the, it was one of the Austrian Army issue ones, the Generation 1 with the olive green handle. And to be honest with you, when I first got this on trade, I forgot how narrow these blades are. I mean, just look how narrow that blade is. It's not fat at all. And I distinctly remember these blades being fatter, but obviously I've looked into it. I thought, well, you know, is this, I've got a genuine one, and yeah, everything checks out. This is 100% genuine. It's got all the marks in all the right places, and on the sheath as well. And so yeah, so I've been all morning testing this out, and for what it is, guys, you know, I was really impressed with it. And soon I'm going to be doing a review on this knife and showing you what it can do for a knife this size. But that's not what this video is about this morning. It's about, been having a few conversations regarding knives like this and tactical knives and such, and where does it come into play with bushcraft. And to be honest with you, if you're talking from a bushcraft perspective, I mean, any knife really, any knife is better than no knife in the field. A pocket knife, even if you've got a machete or something like that, you know. And this knife here, I've heard, it's a bit like Marmite, you either love it or hate it. I've heard mixed reviews. I mean, I've seen people on YouTube absolutely hammer the shit out of this knife. They really have. And then there's been a bit of controversy about it, saying, well, you couldn't really use it, you can't use it for bushcraft. You can't use it for this and that. It's purely a tactical blade designed for stabbing. Yes, the origins of the Glock 78 was indeed designed as a stabbing weapon. It's designed, obviously, this handle is hollow up to about that point, up to about there. It has like a metal tube inside here. The cap on here comes off, and basically it slots onto the rifle, the standard issue Austrian rifle, and uses a bayonet. Obviously that bit there slots onto the rifle as well, so it slots onto the underbarrel of the of the rifle and then clips in place, and it stops it from moving. But from a bushcraft perspective, can we use such a knife, tactical knife for bushcraft? And it's like, well, yeah, absolutely, why not? It's a knife, you know. And again, a lot of people say it's not a knife, it's a bayonet. I mean, yes, it is a bayonet, but again, why can't you use it for bushcraft? You know, I've been carving with it all morning, done some feather sticks, which I've not actually finished this yet. I'm actually going to be using this for my fire soon, obviously, for my dinner. I've made this heavy duty tent peg, which is a really, really tough wood. This is ash, I think, I'm not too sure. Well, both look very similar. But yeah, done a notch, no problem at all. Made a point, note with this knife, no problem at all. You know, I've been testing different things with this. You know, I mean, why? I mean, look how easy it carves. Yes, granted, this is green wood, guys. Yes, I know. You know, it's not like rock hard, rock solid oak or seasoned ash. But in the world of bushcraft, and especially if you're going in a forest or woodland area, how often do we come up against seasoned ash or seasoned oak? You know, hardly ever. You know, I've been doing bushcraft and wild camping a lot longer than bushcraft. But, you know, when I'm in a wood, I don't look for seasoned ash or seasoned oak or anything like that. I look for something relatively easy, what I can use to start a fire. And to sustain a fire, maybe yes, I mean, if I see a felled ash tree or a felled or a dead standing oak tree, then yes, I might use that. But chop it up with this knife, which is more than capable of doing, and use it for my fire. But why can't you use tactical knives for bushcraft? That's what I want to tell you, or ask you, not tell you. I was getting confused with the words. But you know, I've done them too. I've done a feather stick. Yeah, it's not the most glamorous, but it gets the job done. This will light when I get the fire going, and you know, it'll do its job. Yes, it's not the best looking feather stick because that wasn't my intentions. You know, I'm not in any competition. I just want to get a fire going, and you know, this is more than capable. As soon as I snap this end off, it's fine. You know, it's pine. You know, so that's what I wanted to talk to you about. I mean, this all pine, all solid pine, very knotty pine as well, and this is seasoned. This is seasoned pine. It's probably hard to see, but there's quite a few knots in here. Okay, all of that done, all of it done with this knife, all of it. So I ask you bushcrafters out there, why can't you use this for bushcraft? This Glock 78 knife. Why can't you use a tactical looking knife for bushcraft? I mean, yes, it wasn't designed for it, but if this is the only knife that I had in the woods, I wouldn't be complaining at all. I think it's fabulous. You know, it battened through some wood. It's done some basic carving. I've basically carved a peg. I've done some feather sticks for my fire. So, you know, that to me is bushcraft. It's got a clip point and a very, 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 very sharp point, because obviously this is used as a stabbing tool, a stabbing weapon, used by Austrian forces. And when I looked on the when I researched this, other special forces around the world like India, Poland, Spain, they all in some time or another, I'm not saying they do now, but they have all used this knife, and it's a proven fact. They have all used this knife. Okay, and if you do your research, look, Google it up, Google the Glock 78. All the special forces guys in even Korea and China, they've all at some stage in history, they have all used this knife. Okay, now this knife, I think one of the things that put people off in the world of bushcraft is because there are a lot of traditionists, and I'm myself a traditionist as well, but I do feel that you have to be a bit diverse. You have to try new things, and If it means trying new knife grinds, new kind of knives, tactical knives, who knows, you might actually find a tactical knife, maybe even this one, that you prefer over a bushcraft knife. And yes, most tactical knives don't have Scandi grinds because they're the tactical knives. They are stabbing tools, they're stabbing weapons, and like this, use as bayonets to slot into your rifle, and then you use your rifle as a bayonet. So yeah, but there is nothing wrong with using this for bushcraft, and you know, and I've been using it all morning for bushcraft, as you can see. But obviously, don't take my word from it. I will do a video of me using this knife, using tent pegs, fire sticks, batoning through wood. I mean, yeah, it's only a small, narrow knife. It's got a needle tip, clip point. It's only 5mm thick. It's not full tang, like a lot of people expect bushcraft knives to be. But like I said, I mean, check out some of the videos on the Glock 78 field knife, FM 78, and you'll see how many people have actually hammered the hell out of this knife. Look at some of the videos that Joe X has put out, which I watch quite frequently because I think it is a really funny guy, and he literally abuses knives, and his whole purpose in life is to find probably a knife that doesn't break on him. And I think he used one of the Generation 1 models, what I used to have, and he absolutely hammered it to death. You know, he's stabbing it through cars, stabbing it through pieces of wood, solid pieces of wood, and you know, he's using it as a pry bar, and it still survived. He's even put this on a bar, and he was doing pull-ups, using his own body weight, pull-ups on this with this knife, and it didn't snap, never failed, didn't snap or anything. Eventually he did get it to break, but like he said in the video, it took a long time to get there to break this knife. And in his list, I think he said this is one of the toughest knives he's ever tested, despite it not being full tang. And I actually asked him, I said, would you recommend the Glock 78? Because he's very funny about knives when they fail, and he says, yeah, absolutely. Now, I think he prefers the Gerber strong arm over this, simply because the Gerber strong arm is full tang, whereas this one's not. But I suppose if this was full tang, then he'd probably prefer this one. But anyway, so yeah, the Austrian Army Glock 78. But we've got to be careful because there is a lot of fakes out there. Make sure all the marks are in the right place. Okay, so it needs to say Glock on the handle, made in Austria 78, and again the Glock symbol, probably hard to pick that up, on there, made in Austria Glock 78. And if I can get it off, because I've actually got it on my belt, if I can get it off, I'll show you the sheath, because this is amazing. And again, because from a tactical perspective, I can see why they did this sheath, but from a bushcraft perspective, a lot of people actually don't like this knife or the sheath. But this is the sheath. It comes off your belt really easy. Goes on your belt really easy because it's just basically a plastic sheath, but it is so well designed and absolutely solid, as they expect, because it's made by Glock. And again, distinguish a real one from a fake. Again, the sheath has got to have the Glock symbol on it as well. Now, the earlier models of Glocks, they had just slightly different symbol to this. I think it was a triangle, if I remember, memory serves me right, with a round circle. Just correct me if I'm wrong, just put your comments down there. It's been many years since I had a Generation 1. Obviously this one's a modern version, it's not a Generation 1, but it's got pretty much the same markings on it. So yeah, I mean, it could take up to like a 2.5 inches like waist belt. Obviously it's designed to go over molly belts, big thick molly belts, so yeah. So you can have either quick release, like this, or if you want it actually on the belt permanently, all you have to do, you can see this hook there, and that hook's down there. Now to do that, you just pull it towards you and slot it in. And there we go. Now that, in no way is going to come off your belt at all. You can pull on that all day long and it will not come off. The blade. There is a trick in getting the blade out. Many soldiers are trained and taught how to get the blade out of a Glock sheath, and there is a reason why they designed it that way, obviously. So you see this clip here, okay, this clip pulls up, okay, and this is left or right handed, doesn't really matter, because there is a gap here on both sides of the Glock, and that gap here is for that clip to go into. So you place the blade in the sheath, and watch this clip here, push it in, and that clips it in there, and yes, it does rattle a bit, okay, but is it coming out? No. You know, can you pull it out? No, can't even pull it out, and this will not come out unless you engage that clip, okay. I've seen many people that's not had experience with having these knives, and even some of the comments saying that I wish they made the clip easier to get out. And it's like, if you practiced, or if you kind of learned how to do it properly, then you would know it's actually quite easy to get out. Okay, so I've seen people trying to pry it open with like both your fingers. Now, if you're not experienced with this Glock knife, or never served obviously in the military, never had one of these or anything like that, then I've seen obviously civilians and such like, is people that's not had experience with these, is this clip has to be engaged before the knife obviously gets drawn out. And this safety clip here, it's designed for a purpose, as I've just shown you. It's designed so if you have it up here on your molly jacket, so you can easily engage it and take it out. And obviously if it's upside down, you don't want your knife coming out, or if it's on your side, you don't want your knife coming out. If it's on your Bergen, your rucksack, and it's strapped to it, you don't want this knife coming out when you're crossing streams and things like that. Okay, but I've seen people trying to do this with two hands, and then all they're trying to do is just pull this and then just try and get the knife out. Okay, that's actually not the way to do it. Okay, in fact it's quite uncomfortable doing that, and I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that either, because all it takes is one slip, you know, and your fingers will be sliding on that blade there. And this blade is really razor sharp, which I forgot to mention earlier. A lot of genuine Glocks, and I'll tell you about that in a minute, they should come razor sharp. Now, not all of them are hair popping sharp. Now, I was lucky with this one because these are made in batches, and you know, thousands and thousands of these things are made. They'll check the edge, quality control, yeah, that's good enough, and then that's it. So not all of them are hair popping sharp, but I was lucky, this was hair shaving sharp, and all I did is give it probably 30 seconds tickle on the leather strap, nothing else, and it went from hair shaving sharp to hair popping sharp. So obviously this now, obviously it shaves hair off my arm, and the hairs just literally pop off my arm without no skin on the blade. But yeah, back to the retaining clip. Okay, so you put it in like that. Okay, now it is designed for one finger draw. Okay, finger in. Okay, now for the people that's never owned a Glock or served in any special forces or doesn't know anything about these, it it takes some practice to get it out like that, okay? So rather than trying to put your finger in there, or try and put your finger in there and lift it up and try and engage that lock, okay, all it takes is a little trick with your thumb, okay? So put your thumb down like that and just lift it to the side. So you lift the lock to the side and slightly up, and it just comes out as easy as that. Clip it in, do the same. Down to the side, engage the lock, pull the knife out, okay? Now, there is a way of doing this silently. Say if you're sneaking behind your enemy and you want to stab, and basically, again it takes practice, is if you push the blade down, okay, slightly, because there is a gap between the handle and the sheath. You push the blade ever so down slightly, okay, and then engage it with your thumb. Makes no sound whatsoever getting the blade out, okay. Getting it back in again, obviously it will make a noise when it clips in, but obviously your enemy is going to be dead by then. But obviously we're not here to discuss killing enemies or anything like that, but that's how you engage the clip on the Glock 78, and I dare say it'll be on the Glock 81 as well. And obviously the belt, you can either thread it through there, or again you can engage it from the side like this. It's hard to do with a knife actually, so get through that. So engage it through the side like this, and it just pulls out. Then exactly the same way, you can do it from the other side if you want, and it's ready to go on your belt. Okay, so again this is not a review, because I'm going to do a review of the knife and its capabilities. But yeah, this is the knife, this is the sheath, and like I said, the topic, actually I've gone off topic a bit, was can you use tactical knives for bushcraft? Yes, you can. But it all depends on the person. If you're a traditionalist, and I'm a traditionalist as well, but I'm also a knife guy. I do like to experiment with different knives, different knife grinds, different sizes. In a minute I'm just experimenting with different neck knives, because I've never liked neck knives, but just recently I thought that they come quite in handy, you know, when you haven't got your main blade on you. So I'm looking for a good neck knife to put on my neck. But back to tactical knives, and especially the Glock, there's no reason why you can't use a tactical looking blade, tactical style blade, or genuine blade in the field of bushcraft, because after all it is a knife. A knife is a knife, okay? And when I say a knife is a knife, they're both sharp, they're both pointy, and they both do pretty much the same job. However, the jobs that you probably, the average bushcrafter does struggle with is actually the grinds, because I'd say a good, I don't know, maybe 80, maybe 90% of bushcrafters like knives that are, say, Scandi grinds. That is the norm these days. Most bushcraft knives that you purchase are Scandi grinds, you know. Followed by, you know, like a hollow grind, or say a convex grind. But because of the ease of slicing and the ease of sharpening, a lot of people tend to go with the Scandi grind, rather than, say, a convex grind. It's not to say a convex grind isn't very good, it's just that what I'm saying is people haven't had enough experience or knowledge about convex grinds or hollow grinds, which is pretty much the same as the Scandi grind, only the profile is a lot thinner, so you get a lot thinner slices. So where does a knife like this come into that category? Well, this has got a secondary V-edge. It almost looks like a hollow grind, especially down here, but I'd say it's a clip point. It looks like a sabre grind, so it's like a cross between a sabre grind and a Scandi, but for argument's sake I'd say it's a sabre grind with a secondary V-edge bevel. Obviously the V-edge bevel is there because the knife needs, because it is a military knife, tactical knife after all, and you do need strength there. A lot of military knives, in my experience of owning them and using them, a lot of the best ones are actually convex grinds, because convex grinds are incredibly durable and they slice half decent as well. Maybe not as good as a hollow grind or a Scandinavian grind for slicing, but they do hold their own. And as far as chopping's concerned, there's nothing better than a convex grind for chopping. You're just not going to beat it. But sometimes people have both. Some people have what's called the new thing these days called a Scandivex, which is half Scandi and half convex. So you get the durability, but the sliceability. So it's best of both worlds. And I've got a few Scandivex at home, so I'll have to bring them in and show you. So yeah, so I think if people aren't used to using these kind of grinds, or convex grinds, or a sabre grind with a secondary V-edge bevel, then they tend to just toss the knife aside and say, that's crap, I don't like that, it's not as good as my Scandi grind. That's simply because they're not used to it. I think you get so used to using a certain grind that you get scared of using other grinds. But don't be afraid to experiment, which is why I like to trade or buy knives with different shapes, different sizes, different grinds, and who knows, you might find one that suits you. But obviously a Scandi grind, you're going to be holding it a lot flatter. Okay, you're going to tilt it slightly and feel the bevel, and then obviously you can slice. Okay, this one's not like that. Okay, although if you want to do some fine shavings, you could use it as a Scandi grind and just skate across the wood like this, little tiny curls. Okay, same as a hollow grind. A lot of hollow grinds these days, especially the books, they have a secondary bevel because a lot of their knives are actually hollow grind, and it's just pretty much the same thing. But with convex grinds and grinds like this, that's got a secondary V-edge because it's a combat knife, so it needs that secondary V-edge to strengthen the blade. You have to carve a little bit different, so you need to carve, you need to slice from a different angle. So it's probably more like 45-degree angle, so a lot higher than what you're used to, so you're not holding it flat. Okay, you're increasing the angle and then you're carving like that. Now if you don't know that and you're still trying to hold a blade flat like this, thinking that it's a Scandi grind, it's going to be similar to a Scandi grind, but it's not going to work out for you. It's just going to be slipping, sliding all over the place. So basically the same as a convex grind, you increase the angle. Okay, 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 increase the angle and you get this beautiful slice. So I've known a lot of people, and I've read a lot of comments yesterday on YouTube saying it's no good for bushcraft. Why not? Why not? Why not? Okay, what's wrong with that? Okay, this slice is no better than your bushcraft knife, than the average bushcraft knife, and no worse. To me, it's pretty much the same. Is it because I've been using lots of different knife grinds for many years? I don't know, maybe. But until you try it, just have a go. Just get a knife that you're not used to. So if you're used to Scandi grinds, get a knife that's a sabre grind with a V-edge secondary bevel, or a convex grind. But why can't you use tactical knives like this for bushcraft? Because the answer is you can, if you know how, if you find a way. Okay, when there's a will, there's a way. You'll always find a way. Okay, I've done everything this morning. I've processed all my wood, feather sticks, I've batoned with it. I've done all that this morning, and now I'm ready to light my fire. Okay, I've done all that with a Glock 78. Okay, and I dare say I could probably even make a spoon out of that because of how thin the grind is and how thin the needle tip is. So yeah, I'm just going to wrap that up, but it'd be interesting to hear your comments on can you use tactical knives for bushcraft. And from my perspective, my point of view, yeah, of course you can, yeah. But you know, if one is willing to spend time with the knife, you know, I always spend a lot of time with my knives because I want to learn its capabilities, I want to learn its pros, and I want to learn its cons compared to other knives that I've used, and that's all it's about. And like I said before in some of my other videos, you might even find a knife that's not a Scandinavian grind or not a hollow grind that you like better. Who knows? But experiment, guys, that's all it's about. Experiment. I think these retail now I've been waiting for a long time for these to come back into stock, but like I say, recently this has come up in a trade in one of the knife trade books groups on Facebook, and so I was lucky to get this. But I think some of the shops like Henny Haynes, I think they've recently got a stock of these back in stock. I think they're running about £43, but £43 for an absolute belter of a knife. It really, really is. You know, it's lightweight, it's extremely tough, to say it's not full tang. Now normally I wouldn't touch a knife that is not full tang, but this has actually surprised me. You know, it's not the first time I've been surprised when using a knife, but yeah. But it's the same as your bushcraft Moras. You know, a lot of Mora bushcraft knives aren't full tang either. So, you know, go figure. Anyway, so I've been rabbiting it on for over half an hour now, so I'm going to drink the rest of my tea and put my fire on. So, peace out for now, guys, and let me know in the comments what you feel about what makes a good bushcraft knife. Catch you guys later.